Chapter 3876. A dozen strong cultivators from the chaotic demon star area joined hands and attacked Xiao Wuji. At that moment, the leader of the demon crocodile clan couldn't hold on any longer. His body exploded and his flesh melted into the Shui Luo Great Formation. A cultivator of the 7th Godly Emperor layer had been absorbed by the Shui Luo Great Formation. The Shui Luo Great Formation's power increased tremendously. The red light on Limitless Xiu's body became even more intense. His body began to wriggle rapidly, and many fine blood-red scales suddenly appeared on his skin. He was quickly becoming a blood azura. Ha ha! Awesome! You can all die together. Xiao Wuji raised his head to the sky and burst into laughter. His blood-red claws moved towards the remaining strong cultivators. You want me to die? You won't have an easy time either. A relatively strong cultivator of the 6th Godly Emperor layer shouted ferociously. His body swelled up, and then there was a loud explosion as he exploded. He had chosen to self-detonate. A cultivator of the 6th Godly Emperor layer had self-detonated. It was terrifying. It was like a star exploding. Destructive energies swept in all directions. Many blood-red claws exploded. Let's go. The remaining people seized the opportunity to attack Xiao Wuji. Do you think you can deal with me by using such a suicidal method? How naive. Die. Smiled Xiao Wuji coldly. He raised his hands and more blood-red claws condensed. Explode. Die together. The remaining people kept self-detonating. The terrifying energies could destroy the sky and the earth. Unfortunately, in the Shui Luo Great Formation, the destructive energies weren't very useful. The blood-red claws blocked them. Furthermore, the remaining people were surrounded by countless arms before being captured, including a few cultivators of the 7th Godly Emperor layer. Those people couldn't even self-detonate. They melted one after the other. Ha ha ha. You too, do you see that? Those who oppose me are all going to die. You two are peerless geniuses. Don't worry, I've absorbed your life essence. I won't waste it. In the future, I'll be invincible. In the future, I will dominate the universe and create a new heavenly court. Even the heavenly palace will be under my feet. Xiao Wuji laughed. His confidence had reached its peak, and he didn't even put the heavenly palace in his eyes. Ling Yuwei's face turned pale, but Lu Ming still had a calm expression on his face. He still had a trump card in his hand that he had yet to use. Naturally, he was not worried. His gaze was fixed on a few places. No one knew what he was thinking. The sect leader of the Devil Punisher sect couldn't take it, and his body melted. His essence became nutrients for the Blood Azura Grand Formation, which was then absorbed by Xiao Wuji, helping him evolve into a Blood Azura. Now, at this moment, Lu Ming's eyes suddenly lit up. He pulled Ling Yuwei's small hand and rushed in a certain direction. Ling Yuwei had no idea what to do. She could only rely on Lu Ming. When Lu Ming pulled her hand, even though she blushed, she didn't resist. She let Lu Ming pull her in that direction. Lu Ming and Ling Yuwei were extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, they appeared a few hundred li away. Lu Ming stretched out his hand and grabbed a ring of holding. That ring of holding belonged to the leader of the Devil Alligator clan. The leader of the Devil Alligator clan was a cultivator of the 7th Godly Emperor layer. Even if that wasn't the case, the leader of the Devil Alligator clan had collected a lot of 10,000 blood fruits, which made Lu Ming very excited. The treasure was right in front of him. How could he miss it? When Xiao Wuji saw that Lu Ming was still thinking about the ring of holding, he was so angry that he laughed. How greedy! You don't know what death is. Xiao Wuji sneered. He wasn't in a hurry to take the ring of holding because there was no need to rush. After he killed everyone and turned into a Blood Azura, he could take it slowly. He hadn't thought that Lu Ming would still be thinking about the ring of holding. Wasn't that ridiculous? Mu Yun, greed without strength is stupid. It seems like I overestimated you. Now I'll send you on your way. Xiao Wuji's disdainful and cold voice spread in the air. Then he waved his hand and at least a dozen tentacles moved towards Lu Ming and Ling Yuwei. They were in the middle of the Blood Azura Great Formation, so they couldn't avoid it. Let's go all out. Ling Yuwei gritted her teeth. She wanted to continue pulling the Elven Royal Bow and fight to the death. No need. Lu Ming waved his hand and stood in front of Ling Yue. His entire body was covered with forbidden strength. Then he slashed his hand continuously. Pu. In other people's eyes, the blood-red tentacles were terrifying. But in Lu Ming's hands, they couldn't even withstand a single blow. Lu Ming's palm slashed across, and the blood-red tentacles collapsed. Not a single one could get within 1,000 meters of Lu Ming. This time, not only was Ling Yue shocked, but Xiao Wuji also widened his eyes in shock. Then Xiao Wuji's eyes were filled with killing intent. Let's see how many moves you can take from me. Melt for me. Xiao Wuji shouted. His hands formed seals, and countless blood-red arms grabbed at Lu Ming. Each arm was like a small hill, emitting a pungent smell. They wanted to grab Lu Ming and melt him. However, Lu Ming's palms kept slashing out. The forbidden strength turned into dazzling saber light that swept across the sky. Those blood-red palms were cut in half by the saber light. Impossible. How is this possible? What kind of power is this? How can it break through my blood azure great formation? This time, Xiao Wuji couldn't stay calm anymore. He roared in disbelief. Lu Ming couldn't be bothered with him. He brought Ling Yue with him. His figure flickered, and a few more storage rings fell into his hands. They were all the storage rings of the top bosses. Blood waves overflow. Die for me. Xiao Wuji seemed to have gone crazy. His aura was boiling, and an endless amount of blood swept towards Lu Ming like a sea of blood. Let's go. This time, Lu Ming was still fighting. He pulled Ling Yue and rushed outside. After all, they were in the Blood Azura Great Formation. Although his forbidden strength was of a higher level than the Blood Azura Great Formation, his cultivation was limited. His forbidden strength was also limited. If he continued to use it, it would be disadvantageous for him. Now that he had gotten the benefits, it was time to retreat. There was no need to waste time with Xiao Wuji. Soon Lu Ming and Ling Yue rushed to the blood-red light screen. Lu Ming's palm was like a saber, slashing down. The previously unshakable blood-red light screen was forcefully cut open by Lu Ming. The blood-red light screen was formed by the Blood Azura Great Formation. Ordinary divine power couldn't break it, but it couldn't stop the forbidden strength. Chapter 3877. After cutting open a crack in the blood-colored light screen, Lu Ming and Ling Yue rushed out of the crack. Ah, damn it, die for me! Xiao Wuji roared crazily. He controlled the sea of blood and chased after Lu Ming and Ling Yue. However, Lu Ming and Ling Yue were already out of the range of the Blood Azura Great Formation. Xiao Wuji couldn't catch up at all. With a few flashes, they disappeared into the horizon, leaving behind a furious Xiao Wuji. He had miscalculated. He didn't expect Lu Ming and Ling Yue to escape. This way, he wouldn't be able to return to the Azura race. His ancestors were from the Life Spirit Heavenly Court. He could use the Blood Azura Great Formation in the Life Spirit Hall to cultivate. This meant that he was also a remnant of the Life Spirit Heavenly Court. If word of this got out, the Heavenly Palace wouldn't let him go. Before this, he was completely confident that he could keep everyone here. Therefore, he didn't hesitate to reveal all his secrets. Now he regretted it to death. If he had known that Lu Ming was so strange, he wouldn't have revealed all his secrets. Mu Yun Ling Yue, when I completely transform into a Blood Azura, it will be the time of your death. I hope you won't be in a hurry to leave the Life Spirit Hall. Xiao Wuji gritted his teeth, his face ferocious. Not only did he want to kill Lu Ming and Ling Yue to silence them, but he also wanted to obtain their Life Spirit Origin Stone fragments. This was very important to his future plans. Then he retreated into the depths of the Blood Azura Great Formation and started to cultivate. With the help of the Blood Azura Great Formation, he evolved in the direction of a Blood Azura. As for Lu Ming and Ling Yue, they left the swamp and kept flying. After flying for a long time, the two of them finally stopped. Mu Yun, this time thank you. Ling Yue's face was still a little red as she thanked Lu Ming. You helped me once before, so I saved you once. It's only right. Lu Ming smiled. I didn't expect Xiao Wuji's ancestor to be an important figure in the Life Spirit Heavenly Court. It seems that you deliberately cooperated with us to use us to help him cultivate into a Blood Shura and obtain the treasures of the Life Spirit Heavenly Court. Ling Yue said coldly, her expression somewhat ugly. This time, it was really a little dangerous. He did not know what method Lu Ming used to actually be able to break through the power of the blood azura. Ling Yue curiously sized up Lu Ming. Could it be that Lu Ming had mastered a power of a higher level than the power of blood azura? Ling Yue's mind was filled with thoughts. Lu Ming naturally wouldn't explain further. After that, the two of them found a remote place to rest. Although Ling Yue had broken through to the Divine Emperor realm, using the Elven King Bao with blood continuously consumed a lot of energy. She needed to recover well. Lu Ming didn't need to rest. Instead, he took out a few storage rings and cleaned them up. These storage rings belonged to big shots like the Demon Alligator Race Patriarch and the Devil Punishment Sect Master. The collection inside was indeed very rich. There were all kinds of divine weapons, divine pills, and materials. There were a lot of them, and the number of divine crystals was even more enormous. Lu Ming collected all of these divine crystals together. He planned to find an opportunity to buy a batch of treasures that contained pure energy. Originally, Lu Ming wanted to see if there were any secret techniques that could be used. However, he discovered that there were no ordinary secret techniques in the storage rings of these people. The energy of these big shots was all focused on their origin secret techniques. Ordinary secret techniques could only be cultivated in a few auxiliary types. It was normal for them to not have any ordinary secret techniques on them. What Lu Ming liked the most was the myriad blood fruit. In a few storage rings, he found a few hundred myriad blood fruits. These were the treasures that were of great use to Lu Ming. All of them were stored in a storage ring. After Lu Ming had cleaned up everything, Ling Yue had almost recovered. Where are we going next? Should we leave, or should we continue investigating? Lu Ming asked Ling Yue. I want to continue investigating. Ling Yue said. The Bingxian Life Soul Palace is extremely strange. How could all the people here turn into dried corpses? What kind of secret does this contain? Moreover, there doesn't seem to have been a great battle in the Bingxian Life Soul Palace. There are no traces of a great battle anywhere. This means that this place was not invaded by the Heavenly Palace in the past. It is very likely that there are still a large number of treasures left behind here, especially the 18 Hall suppressing divine weapons. As she finished speaking, Ling Yue's eyes lit up. 18 Hall suppressing divine weapons? Lu Ming revealed a puzzled expression. That's right, I've checked the information on the 18 Hall suppressing divine weapons. Legend has it that other than the 4 great treasures, there are also 18 Hall suppressing divine weapons. Every Life Soul Palace has 2 divine weapons, and they are all extremely terrifying treasures. They are the top divine weapons of the universe, and their power is boundless. Ling Yue said. Hearing this, Lu Ming's eyes also emitted a dazzling light. There was no need for any other description. Just by hearing the words top divine weapon of the universe, one could tell how extraordinary it was. As for the Bingxian Life Soul Palace, there were no traces of it being invaded. Were the 18 Hall suppressing divine weapons still here? Lu Ming immediately nodded. He had to continue investigating. The two of them left this place and calculated the direction. Then they headed towards the depths of the Bingxian Life Soul Palace. Following that, the two of them discovered several ruins. Some of these ruins had collapsed, but they weren't caused by a great battle. Instead, they had collapsed naturally over the years. Inside these buildings, they still found some dried corpses. They even found a large number of desolate beast corpses in the wild. Even the desolate beasts in the wild had their essence, energy, and spirit sucked dry. It was as if in the distant past, all the living beings in the entire world of the Bingxian Life Soul Palace had suddenly been sucked dry of their essence, energy, and spirit. Just thinking about it made one feel terrified. Furthermore, due to the passage of time, ordinary treasures had lost their spirituality. The two of them didn't gain much. In the blink of an eye, the two of them had already wandered around the Bingxian Life Soul Palace for 7 days. On this day, as the two of them were flying, their expressions suddenly changed. This was because they could feel that the Life Soul Origin Stone in their bodies was slightly beating. What's going on? My Life Soul Origin Stone fragment is constantly beating. Ling Yue was surprised. With a thought, the Life Spirit Origin Stone fragment appeared and trembled slightly. On top of it, It emitted a strange light. My life soul origin stone fragment is the same. Lu Ming took out his life soul origin stone fragment and discovered that his life soul origin stone fragment was also like this. It trembled slightly and was enveloped by a layer of light. Suddenly, the stone spirit of Lu Ming's life soul origin stone fragment appeared. It looked in a certain direction and revealed a longing expression. In that direction, there is something I desire. The life soul origin stone spirit said, its old eyes emitting a dazzling light. As it spoke, it didn't forget to fiercely sweep its gaze across the life soul origin stone fragment in Ling Yue's hand, flickering with greed. As for Ling Yue's life soul origin stone fragment, a stone spirit also appeared. Chapter 38-78. Lu Ming and Ling Yue glanced at each other. Their vitality stones could sense it. Could it be that there was really an important treasure in that direction? Let's go and take a look, said Lu Ming as he put away the fragments of his life spirit origin stone. Ling Yue also put it away. The two of them turned into two streaks of light and flew in that direction. As the two of them continued moving forward, their life spirit origin stones started vibrating more and more. They were constantly vibrating in their minds. There was definitely something extraordinary in front of them. Otherwise, their life spirit origin stones wouldn't be like that. The two of them were filled with anticipation. After a few hours, they finally made a big discovery. The sky in front of them was completely covered by a layer of light. The multicolored light was divided into two colors, one crimson red and the other dark blue. The two lights covered half the sky. Even if they were very far away, they could still see them. Is it really a treasure? The two of them looked pensive as they thought about the swamp from before. Previously, Xiao Wuji had purposely created an illusion that there was a treasure in the sky. It had attracted a large number of strong cultivators and caused them to fall into a trap. Now the light of the treasure filled the air again. Lu Ming and Ling Yue had no choice but to be more cautious. The two of them withdrew their qi and continued flying. Then a gigantic mountain appeared in front of them. This mountain was extremely majestic. It was unknown how big it was, but it towered into the sky. The two rays of light were emitted from the top of the mountain. Swish, swish, swish. When the two of them got closer, they realized that there were many people flying around the mountain. They were also strong cultivators from the chaotic demon star region. Previously, Xiao Wuji's plan did not attract everyone because some people were too far away and did not see it. It was obvious that another group of people had been attracted to that place. However, there weren't many people who had been attracted to that place, but there were still many strong cultivators among them. In front of them, an old man in red robes was standing in the air. His robes were fluttering in the wind. He released a terrifying qi. Many people distanced themselves from him, not daring to get close. That old man in red robes was a famous strong cultivator in the chaotic demon star region. He was a top cultivator of the 7th godly emperor layer. However, these people stood around the mountain peak, not daring to approach. Lu Ming and Ling Yue flew closer. When they looked at the mountain peak again, their hearts shook violently, and their eyes couldn't help but widen, because they saw a shocking scene. Many living beings were sitting cross-legged on the mountain peak. Some of these creatures were in the form of beasts, some were in the form of humans, and some were in the form of plants. However, they all had one thing in common, and that was that they had all turned into dried corpses. Yes, all of them had turned into dried corpses. Their essence, energy, and soul had been sucked away. As far as the eye could see, the entire mountain was covered with these dried corpses. Terrifying, strange, terrifying, and full of mystery. Lu Ming and Ling Yue's eyes were filled with shock. These people were obviously from Bingxian's Soul Palace, but why was it like this? It wasn't hard to tell that the creatures on the mountain had gathered here on their own accord. These living beings gathered around the mountain peak, and then their essence, energy, and spirit were instantly sucked away. What exactly happened back then? Besides, why didn't the big shots of the chaotic devil starfield dare to climb the mountain? Could it be that there was danger on the mountain peak? Lu Ming and Ling Yue naturally wouldn't climb the mountain so easily. However, when they arrived at this place, the fragments of their life spirit origin stones were already shaking violently. as if they were about to break out of their bodies and fly out. Damn it, after these dried corpses died, they even left behind an indestructible battle soul. How troublesome. Isn't that so? There must be a supreme treasure at the top of this mountain. Around them, some people were discussing in low voices. Their gazes were cast towards the top of the mountain, and their greed was extremely strong. Indestructible battle soul? Lu Ming's heart stirred as he fell into deep thought. All of you come with me. Let's charge again. At this moment, the red-robed old man scanned his surroundings with a gaze as cold as lightning. Senior Red Devil, we can join hands, but let's make this clear first. Once we reach the top of the mountain, we will also have a share of the treasures above. A middle-aged man said. Oh, is that so? The red-robed old man smiled, looking very amiable. However, in the next moment, his eyes flashed with killing intent. His figure turned into a red light, and suddenly pounced towards the middle-aged man. His speed was so fast that the middle-aged man couldn't even react. Slash. Blood splashed everywhere, and a horrible shriek spread in the air. The red-robed old man's claws had already pierced through the middle-aged man's head and twisted it off. Slash slash slash. The sound of people taking deep breaths spread in the air. They were all terrified. You're overestimating yourself. You want to negotiate with me? Now if I tell you to attack, do you understand? Said the red-robed old man ferociously. His eyes were filled with killing intent as he glanced at everyone. Lu Ming and Ling Yue's expressions didn't change, but the others looked terrified. Only the red-robed old man had the strength of the 7th godly emperor layer. He couldn't compete with the red-robed old man. Even though there were a few cultivators of the 6th godly emperor layer, the difference between the 6th and 7th godly emperor layer was too great. Hurry up and come here. Let's attack together, shouted the red-robed old man coldly. The others had no choice but to move closer to the red-robed old man. They planned to attack together with him. However, Lu Ming and Ling Yue didn't move. You two, you want to die? The red-robed old man glanced at Lu Ming and Ling Yue. His eyes were filled with killing intent. Even though he didn't care about Lu Ming and Ling Yue's cultivation levels, he didn't think that Ling Yue and Lu Ming could help him. However, the two of them had ignored his orders, which made him very unhappy. He had to make an example out of them. You don't have the right to order us, said Ling Yue indifferently. What? I don't have the right? Ha ha ha. The red-robed old man burst into laughter. Tears were about to come out of his eyes. A small shrimp of the 1st godly emperor layer said that he didn't have the right to order them? What a joke. You overestimate yourself. You go and kill him. The red-robed old man pointed at a cultivator of the 3rd godly emperor layer. Yes, that cultivator of the 3rd godly emperor layer accepted the order and rushed towards Ling Yue. However, the moment he rushed out, Lu Ming also moved. He stepped out and faced that person. Little boy, you're just a quasi-emperor layer cultivator, and you want to save the beauty? You overestimate yourself. Die. The cultivator of the 3rd godly emperor layer smiled ferociously and slashed at Lu Ming with his blade. It was as if he could already see Lu Ming being cut in half. Clang. Lu Ming slashed out with his palm, facing that person's blade. This time, everyone laughed. A quasi-emperor layer cultivator actually wanted to use his bare hands to block the blade of a cultivator of the 3rd godly emperor layer. Was he crazy? But in the next moment, everyone's smiles froze on their faces. Chapter 3879. Clang. Lu Ming's hand collided with the blade of the 3rd godly emperor layer. The sound of porcelain breaking spread in the air. The surface of the saber was covered with fine cracks. With a bang, it exploded into pieces. Not only his saber, but his entire body was also filled with cracks. Ah! That person let out a cry of despair. And then his entire body exploded, turning into pieces, completely dead. This. Everyone else at the scene was dumbfounded. A cultivator of the 3rd godly emperor layer had been killed by a quasi-emperor. What was going on? This was beyond their understanding. The eyes of the old red-robed man widened too. So it's 2 demonic geniuses. The old man in the red robe said coldly. Then, a ferocious look appeared on his face. I know you're from a big clan, But this is the chaotic devil starfield. Even if you're a tiger, you'll still have to lie down. If you disobey me, you'll die. Boom. The red-robed old man's body erupted with a powerful aura. It was as if he could topple mountains and trample the seas as he pressed towards Lu Ming and Ling Yue. He wanted to personally take action and deal with Lu Ming and Ling Yue. But at this time, Ling Yue took out the Elven King's bow that was stained with blood, and a towering tree appeared behind her. Endless energy poured into her body, and with a pull of the bowstring, an emerald green arrow appeared, aimed at the red-robed elder. The figure of the old man in the red robe instantly tensed, as if a terrifying presence was staring at him. Ling Yue's arrow brought him a strong sense of danger. His figure could not help but stop, and his eyes rolled around a few times. Haha, as expected, the younger generation will surpass us in time. Forget it, this old man is already so old, I won't lower myself to your level. Do as you please. The rest of you, charge with this old man. The red-robed old man laughed and found himself a way out. Facing Ling Yue, he wasn't confident, so he decided to give up. The others did not dare to disobey the red-robed old man's orders. They followed the red-robed old man and rushed towards the mountain peak. Lu Ming and Ling Yue stared at the mountain peak, wanting to see what would happen. The red-robed elder and the others were very cautious. They rushed to the top of the mountain at an astonishing speed. However, when they flew into the mountain range, the motionless corpses suddenly glowed with a dim light. Fight, fight, fight. Kill, kill, kill. Terrifying battle cries reverberated throughout heaven and earth. It was as if there were thousands of soldiers and horses. Then, shadows rushed out from those mummified corpses. These shadows were the undying fighting souls left behind by the top powers. They seemed to be guarding this place. Once there was an invasion, these undying fighting souls would be activated. At that instant, at least a few hundred battle spirits charged toward the red-robed old man and his crew, surrounding them and attacking them fiercely. These fighting souls were extremely powerful. Those who were not strong enough were killed immediately. The red-robed elder roared angrily. His aura went berserk and his divine power surged as he launched a counterattack. However, his attack did not seem to have much effect on the fighting souls. The fighting souls only flashed a few times before they continued to pounce on the red-robed elder, and the rest as if nothing had happened. In the end, other than the red-robed elder, the others were injured. They coughed up blood and retreated. Even the red-robed elder could not withstand it. He charged forward with all his might. However, an even more terrifying fighting soul appeared, causing the red-robed elder to turn pale with fright. He quickly retreated out of the range of the mountain. After they left the range of the mountain, the undying fighting souls turned into rays of dim light and disappeared into the bodies of the mummified corpses. What a terrifying undying fighting soul. Its strength is extremely shocking. Ling Yue whispered with a grave expression. Through the short exchange earlier, they could see that the fighting souls were extremely powerful. It seemed that the closer they got to the mountain, the more terrifying the fighting souls were. On the surface, there were countless mummified corpses sitting cross-legged. How many terrifying fighting souls were there? Especially when looking from afar, they could see some figures sitting cross-legged at the top of the mountain. How terrifying were those? Obviously, the others had thought of this as well. Damn it, there are treasures but we can't get them. Someone sighed. There was a treasure mountain in front of them, but they could not take it. They felt terrible. A group of people surrounded the mountain peak, staring at the treasure light emitted from the top of the mountain. However, at this moment, Lu Ming and Ling Yue felt that the life spirit origin stone fragments in their bodies were trembling more and more violently, as if they were about to break out of their bodies and fly out. It was as if there was something outside that had a strong attraction to them. Treasures, they are all treasures. Lu Ming, these undying fighting souls are all treasures. The life spirit origin stone spirit shouted. Of course, only Lu Ming could hear it. These undying fighting souls are all treasures? What kind of treasure is this? Lu Ming asked in surprise. Using the life spirit origin stone fragments, you can store these undying fighting souls for your use. You must know that the life spirit origin stone is one of the 4 great treasures of the life spirit heavenly court. Each of them has a special effect. The Life Spirit Origin Stone can be said to be the symbol of the Life Spirit Heavenly Court. These undying fighting souls left behind by the experts of the Life Spirit Heavenly Court can be stored within. The more Life Spirit Origin Stone fragments you have, the more you can store. The Life Spirit Origin Stone Spirit explained. Lu Ming's eyes lit up and his heart thumped. Even his breathing became hurried. The Life Spirit Origin Stone fragments could actually absorb those undying fighting souls. Lu Ming had seen the power of the undying fighting souls just now. The red-robed elder and the others had only just rushed to the mountain peak and were already injured by the undying fighting souls. They had not even rushed far. As they went further, the strength of the undying fighting souls was even more terrifying. If he could take these undying fighting souls into his bag, how strong would his fighting strength be? How can I absorb those undying fighting souls? Lu Ming asked. It's very simple. As long as you hold the Life Spirit Origin Stone fragments in your hand and inject your strength into it, when you get close to the undying fighting souls, you will be able to absorb them. Those undying fighting souls will definitely not resist. The Life Spirit Origin Stone Spirit said. All right. Lu Ming nodded his head and looked at Ling Yue. He also happened to see Ling Yue looking at him. He knew that Ling Yue would definitely know of this secret as well. Her stone spirit would definitely tell him as well. Make your move. Lu Ming sent a sound transmission to Ling Yue. Ling Yue nodded. Following that, the two of them flashed and suddenly rushed towards the mountain peak. When the red-robed elder and the others saw Lu Ming and Ling Yue rushing towards the mountain peak, no one stopped them. Instead, they gloated. You really overestimate yourself. Do you think you can rush over just because you have some strength? I think he's too confident. When he's surrounded by those undying fighting souls, he'll have something to cry about. Hee, it's best to die on the front. Chapter 3880. When the red-robed elder and the others saw Lu Ming and Ling Yue rushing towards the mountain peak, they couldn't help but mock and ridicule them. But very quickly, they shut their mouths, their faces filled with astonishment. When Lu Ming and Ling Yue rushed into the range of the mountain peak, a dim light appeared on the bodies of the mummies, just like before. Then, one by one, the undying battle souls rushed out and pounced towards Lu Ming and Ling Yue. At this time, a crystal appeared in Lu Ming and Ling Yue's hands. Life Spirit Origin Stone Fragment. When the few undying battle souls approached Lu Ming, they immediately stopped. One could clearly see that the undying battle soul's face revealed a comfortable and respectful expression. Then it turned into a ray of light and rushed into the Life Spirit Origin Stone Fragment, disappearing without a trace. Lu Ming could vaguely feel that there was something extra in the Life Spirit Origin Stone Fragment. On the other side, Ling Yue was the same. The few undying battle souls that were close to her directly charged into her Life Spirit Origin Stone Fragment. This. The red-robed elder and the others widened their eyes in disbelief. What are the crystals in their hands? Why can they absorb the undying battle soul? Those undying battle souls have been absorbed. Could it be that they can use them? Could that be the legendary Life Spirit Origin Stone Fragment? A voice came out from the crowd, causing everyone's hearts to tremble violently. In unison, everyone's eyes were fixed on the Life Spirit Origin Stone Fragment in Lu Ming and Ling Yue's hands. Many people had heard of the Life Spirit Origin Stone Fragment, but they had never seen it before. Hearing this, they couldn't help but let their imaginations run wild. Why would the Bingxian Life Spirit Hall suddenly appear? Why could the crystals in Lu Ming and Ling Yue's hands make those undying battle souls reveal expressions of comfort and reverence? Perhaps it really was a fragment of the Life Spirit Origin Stone. Legend had it that the Life Spirit Origin Stone Fragment was the key to finding the Life Spirit Heavenly Court. Their eyes were burning with greed. If they could snatch the Life Spirit Origin Stone Fragment, would they have the chance to find the Life Spirit Heavenly Court and obtain the inheritance of the Life Spirit Heavenly Court? Thinking of this, everyone's eyes turned red. The Life Spirit Origin Stone Fragment is mine. Since I've met her, she's destined to be mine. Roars rang out one after another. Everyone charged towards Lu Ming and Ling Yue in a frenzy. You're courting death. Scram. The red-robed old man shouted coldly. Dazzling red light burst out like sharp swords, piercing through the sky. The bodies of those who were pierced directly exploded, and they died on the spot. The others were shocked and distanced themselves from the red-robed elder. However, they did not want to give up on the Life Spirit Origin Stone fragment, and continued to charge towards Lu Ming and Ling Yue. Go up! Lu Ming shouted softly and rushed towards the top of the mountain, with Ling Yue following closely behind. On the side, those undying battle souls could not affect Lu Ming and Ling Yue at all. Some of those who rushed over stopped in fear, and some directly rushed into the fragments of the Life Spirit Origin Stone. In the blink of an eye, the two of them had rushed out tens of thousands of meters. When the red-robed old man and the others rushed into the range of the mountain, those undying battle souls crazily rushed towards them. The red-robed old man and the others couldn't resist at all, and could only retreat. Some of them stayed on the mountain forever. Damn it, let's see how long you can stay here. When you come down the mountain, it will be your death. The red-robed old man roared angrily, his killing intent as cold as a blade. Lu Ming and Ling Yue smiled faintly. To be honest, they did not put the red-robed old man in their eyes at all. Although the red-robed old man was strong, they both had great killing weapons. With their great killing weapons, and the two of them working together, how could they be afraid of the red-robed old man? The two of them focused their minds, holding the fragments of the Life Spirit Origin Stone in their hands, and charged towards the undying battle souls. As long as those undying battle souls were within 10 meters of the Life Spirit Origin Stone fragment, regardless of their cultivation level, they would rush into the fragment. In just a few minutes, Lu Ming had already collected over 100 undying battle souls. This caused the red-robed old man and the others to be extremely envious. Swoosh! At that moment, there was a ray of blood light in the distance. It was rushing towards them at an alarming speed. In the next instant, the blood light receded, revealing a young man's figure. Xiaowuji. Lu Ming's gaze swept across and a cold light flashed in his eyes. The person who had come was Xiaowuji. The current Xiaowuji was covered in a layer of blood light. His appearance had also changed a lot from before. In the past he had 3 heads and 6 arms. Now he was no different from a human. He only had 1 head and 2 arms. The only difference was that there was an additional eye between his eyebrows. He was somewhat similar to the 3-eyed race. His aura was also much more violent than before. He had already reached the first Heaven God Emperor realm. He also saw Lu Ming and Ling Yue on the mountain peak. You are courting death. The undying battle souls are mine. Seeing that Lu Ming and Ling Yue were collecting the undying battle souls, Xiaowuji roared angrily. His terrifying killing intent exploded as he charged towards the mountain peak. The red-robed old man and the others were blocking his path. Get out of my way! Shouted Xiaowuji to the red-robed old man and the others. The red-robed old man and the others were infuriated. Originally, they had treasures but could not obtain them. They could only watch as Lu Ming and Ling Yue collected the undying fighting soul on the mountain. These people were extremely unhappy. Now a young man had appeared and dared to talk to them like that. They were even more furious. Where did this little bastard come from? How dare you act so arrogantly? I'll kill you! Shouted an old man of the 3rd Heaven God Emperor realm furiously. He looked ferocious as he threw a punch at Xiaowuji. His punch whistled through the air like a small mountain, oppressing Xiaowuji. Die. Xiaowuji's murderous intent was like a vast ocean. With a roar, the bloody glow in his hand condensed into a long sword, which he slashed out. Slash. The old man of the 3rd Heaven God Emperor realm's punch was immediately cut in half. The sword light didn't stop and continued cutting the old man apart. The old man of the 3rd Heaven God Emperor realm didn't even have time to scream before he was killed. The others were astonished. Another incredible cultivator, just like Lu Ming, had killed a cultivator of the 3rd Heaven God Emperor realm in one attack. How come there were so many incredible cultivators today? Is that the strength of the Azura blood Azura? Whispered Ling Yue at the top of the mountain. Looking at Xiaowuji's condition, he had probably succeeded and become a Azura blood Azura. Die. Xiaowuji's killing intent was too strong. After killing one person, his killing intent became even stronger. He let out a roar, waved his blood sword, and charged towards the crowd. Sword lights flashed and a few more people were killed. "Shit, that little boy is insane. Kill him!" shouted a few cultivators of the 5th and 6th Heaven God Emperor realm furiously. They released their godly strength and threw themselves at Xiao Wuji. The moment someone like this made a move, it was extremely terrifying. Xiao Wuji felt a deadly sense of danger. However, in the face of danger, Xiao Wuji revealed an excited expression. The blood sword in his hand disappeared, and was replaced by a broken sword. It was only half of the Azura Emperor sword. Chapter 3881. Xiao Wuji's eyes were bloodshot, and filled with killing intent. The Azura clan had always been a bloodthirsty clan. After he had transformed into the Blood Azura, his killing intent had grown even stronger. Kill! Kill, kill, kill! Xiao Wu roared. The broken Azura Emperor sword in his hand slashed out. This half of the Azura Emperor sword was a terrifying killing weapon. It was the same as the blood-stained Elf King Bao in Ling Yue's hand. Instantly, the sword light exploded. The terrifying sword light split open the universe, breaking through all attacks and defenses, and slashing those experts. Ah! Horrible shrieks spread in the air. No matter if it was cultivators of the 5th or 6th godly emperor layer, they couldn't resist the Azura Emperor sword's attacks. Their bodies were cut in two, and their lives were destroyed. In an instant, more than 10 experts were killed by Xiao Wuji. The remaining people were almost scared to death as they frantically retreated. Kill! Xiao Wuji's killing intent soared to the heavens. He did not want to let these people go, so he continued to attack them. "It's your honor to pay tribute to my power of blood, Shura." Xiao Wuji's cold voice spread out in all directions. His sword continued to slash out, and several more experts were killed by him. Finally, he charged towards the red-robed elder. Boom! The red-robed old man attacked with all his strength and clashed with the red-robed old man's attack. An intense explosion rang out, and the red-robed old man was sent flying backwards. A bloody wound had appeared on his palm. However, Limitless Xiao was also blocked by him. He also retreated a few steps. The red-robed elder's expression was extremely solemn, with a faint trace of shock. Clearly, he was stunned by Xiao Wuji's strength. Die, old man! Limitless Xiao was blocked by the red-robed old man, which aroused his killing intent. He wanted to kill the red-robed old man, but the red-robed old man didn't want to fight with him. He turned and ran. Although Limitless Xiao's killing intent was heavy, he did not lose his mind. Seeing the red-robed old man run away, he stopped and did not pursue. After all, his goal was this mountain peak, the undying battle soul, and Lu Ming and Ling Yue. "Now it's your turn," said Limitless Xiao while looking at Ling Yue and Lu Ming. His eyes were filled with murderous intent. He jumped up and ran towards the mountain peak. He also had fragments of the Soul Vitality Stone in his hand. The undying battle soul were also absorbed by the fragments of the Vitality Spirit. His speed was very fast and unimpeded as he continuously approached Lu Ming and Ling Yue. When the distance between the two was within 10,000 meters, the half of the Azura Emperor sword in his hand slashed towards the two of them. The mighty sword light slashed towards the two of them with earth-shattering power. Lu Ming took out the Gale Pearl while Ling Yue took out the Elf King Bao that was stained with blood, preparing to fight back. However, the mountain peak was filled with undying fighting souls. Xiao Wuji's sword radiance did not fly far before it was blocked by many fighting souls. The strength of these war souls was extremely shocking. They easily blocked Xiao Wuji's sword light, and were completely fine. If they did not have the Life Spirit Vitality Stone fragments in their hands, they would have been torn into pieces by these undying fighting souls. Humph! Seeing this, Xiao Wuji snorted and continued to charge towards Lu Ming and Ling Yue. Lu Ming and Ling Yue continued to charge towards the peak of the mountain, collecting undying battle souls along the way. Xiao Wuji tried to deal with Lu Ming and Ling Yue, but the moment his attacks flew out, they were blocked by the undying battle souls. There were too many undying battle souls. His attacks could not reach Lu Ming and Ling Yue. Damn it! Seeing Lu Ming and Ling Yue collecting undying battle souls, Xiao Wuji became anxious. In the end, he stopped attacking Lu Ming and Ling Yue, and focused on collecting undying battle souls. Lu Ming and Ling Yue were so happy that they focused on collecting undying battle souls. The number of undying battle souls on the mountain peak was shocking. There were at least 100,000 of them. The three of them continued to collect, and the number of undying battle souls slowly decreased. In the end, they were too lazy to collect the low-level undying battle souls. They went to the top of the mountain to collect the high-level ones. As they approached the top of the mountain, the number of undying battle souls decreased. However, each one was even more terrifying. The aura of each undying battle soul shocked Lu Ming. It was like the universe, vast and unfathomable. Needless to say, living beings that could form these undying battle souls were definitely terrifying when they were alive. Unfortunately, they all turned into dried corpses in the end. They did not even know how they died. 2 hours later, Lu Ming, Ling Yuwei and Xiao Wuji had each collected at least 20,000 undying battle souls. At this time, Lu Ming had a feeling that the life spirit stone fragment was almost full and could not absorb much more. Lu Ming and the other two rushed to the top of the mountain. At the top of the mountain was a flat land. On the flat land, there were only 8 figures. These were 8 creatures of different forms, forming a circle. Similarly, these 8 creatures had all turned into dried corpses, without the slightest bit of aura. However, the gazes of Lu Ming and the other two directly skipped over the 8 creatures and landed in the middle of them. In the middle of them, there were 2 rays of light that soared into the sky. The multicolored light that could be seen from afar was reflected by these 2 rays of light. The source of the light was 2 divine armaments, a saber and a snow-white staff. The 2 divine armaments emitted an unfathomable aura. Ling Yuwei's eyes lit up. Could this be the 18 divine armaments of the life spirit heavenly court? Ling Yuwei whispered, her voice trembling. 18 divine armaments? Lu Ming's heart was also beating wildly. He had heard Ling Yuwei mention it before. The 18 divine armaments could be said to be the top treasures of the life spirit heavenly court. In the entire great desolate universe, they were the top treasures and were priceless. Life spirit heavenly court's 9 life spirit halls, each of which had 2 guardian divine weapons. The 18 divine armaments were 18 different types of weapons. There was a saber and a staff here, and they looked so extraordinary. It was very likely that they were 2 of the 18 divine armaments. The 18 divine armaments are mine. Xiao Wuji's eyes shone with a fiery light. In a flash, he pounced towards the 2 divine armaments. However, the bodies of the 8 creatures emitted a dim light. Then, 8 undying fighting souls appeared. The aura of the 8 undying fighting souls was extremely terrifying. It was simply earth-shattering. Just a wisp of aura was emitted, but Lu Ming and the other 2 felt like they were being pressed down by hundreds of planets. They almost vomited blood. The 3 of them quickly placed the life spirit vitality stone fragments in front of them. They continuously channeled their energy into the life spirit vitality stone fragments and activated them with all their might. Buzz buzz. The life spirit vitality stone fragments vibrated violently. Rings of light emanated from them, emitting a mysterious aura. The 8 undying fighting souls scanned the life spirit vitality stone fragments and revealed puzzled looks. What a familiar feeling. Is it the life spirit vitality stone? Has the life spirit vitality stone been shattered? Have we lost? Chapter 3882. The 8 undying fighting souls mumbled. Lu Ming and the other 2 were shocked. Could it be that the 8 undying fighting souls still retained their intelligence? This was unbelievable. The 8 of them had been dead for a long time. If they still retained their intelligence, it meant that they were immortal. No, their eyes are empty. They don't seem to have any intelligence. Lu Ming said. Indeed, the 8 undying fighting souls had empty eyes. They were no different from the previous undying fighting souls. Maybe the 8 of them were too strong when they were alive. After they died, they formed the undying fighting souls and retained some of their instincts. Ling Yuwei said. Lu Ming nodded his head. That was probably the case. The eyes of the 8 undying fighting souls were empty. They did not seem to have any spiritual intelligence or memories. The murmurs that they were muttering were probably instinctive. It was an instinct after seeing the vitality stone fragments. Collect the 8 undying fighting souls. A voice was roaring in Lu Ming's heart. These 8 undying fighting souls were absolutely terrifying, and their strength was out of this world. If he could collect them and use them for himself, they would be a great help to him. Bam! Lu Ming stepped forward and walked towards one of the undying fighting souls. The undying fighting soul did not move and did not attack Lu Ming. Lu Ming was relieved. Originally, he was still nervous. After all, the 8 undying fighting souls were too powerful, and he was not confident. Now that he was confident, he increased his speed and approached the undying fighting soul. Seeing this, Ling Yue and Xiao Wuji carried the vitality stone fragments and approached one of the undying fighting souls. Very quickly, Lu Ming was within 10 meters of the undying fighting soul. Buzz! The vitality stone fragments in Lu Ming's hand vibrated violently and emitted a strong suction force, trying to suck in the undying fighting soul. However, there was a resistance from the undying fighting soul, as if it did not want to go in. It wanted to break free from the suction force of the vitality stone fragments. Similarly, Ling Yue and Xiao Wuji were in the same situation. The undying fighting soul was resisting them. Get in here! Lu Ming shouted in his heart. At the same time, he continuously infused forbidden energy into the life spirit stone. The attraction of the life spirit stone fragment suddenly increased. On the undying fighting soul's body, a dim light flickered and flickered continuously. It seemed that it could not resist the attraction of the life spirit metastone fragment, and its body was drawn closer and closer to the fragment. About a minute later, with a swoosh, the undying fighting soul turned into a ray of light and flew into the life spirit stone fragment. It was successfully collected by the life spirit stone fragment. Lu Ming was the first to succeed. After Lu Ming succeeded, about half a minute had passed. Xiao Wuji had also succeeded, and after another half a minute, Ling Yue had succeeded. At this point, Lu Ming had already collected 2 undying fighting souls. In the end, Lu Ming collected 3 undying battle souls. Xiao Wuji also collected 3, and Ling Yue collected 2. The 8 undying fighting souls were divided among the 3 of them. Damn it! Xiao Wuji's eyes were cold as he stared at Lu Ming. Lu Ming's speed of collecting undying fighting souls was actually faster than his, which made him extremely unhappy. Now, without the undying fighting souls, let's see how you will die. Xiao Wuji's cold eyes stared at Lu Ming and Ling Yue. On the mountain peak, there were still many undying fighting souls that had not been collected by them. However, this was the peak of the mountain. The undying fighting souls on the mountainside were wandering around and did not come up. Therefore, the peak of the mountain was very spacious. Xiao Wuji, don't think that we are afraid of you. Ling Yue held the elf king bow in her hand and was very confident. She was not afraid of Xiao Wuji. Kill! Xiao Wuji shouted and attacked directly. Holding the half of the Azura Emperor sword, his body was covered in a dazzling bloody light. This was the power of the blood Azura. Xiao Wuji released the power of the blood Azura and resonated with the Azura Emperor sword. Wang! The half of the Azura Emperor sword vibrated and sword chi whistled, piercing through the clouds. A few terrifying sword lights slashed towards Lu Ming and Ling Yue. Whoosh! Ling Yue drew her bow and an arrow. A towering tree appeared behind her. Endless energy was injected into her body. On the Elf King bow, an arrow condensed and flew out, piercing through the void. Boom! The arrow and the sword light collided, exploding into a shocking explosion. The arrow and the sword light shook continuously, and finally both disappeared. Lu Ming also drew out the energy from the Gale Pearl. The gale whistled and collided with the sword light that was slashing towards him. In the end, he successfully blocked it. What a strong power! Lu Ming's eyes narrowed slightly. Xiao Wuji's sword light combined with the half of the Azura Emperor sword was shockingly powerful. Both he and Ling Yue used their killing weapons to barely block it. Looks like Xiao Wuji has really evolved into a blood Azura. The power of the blood Azura complements the half of the Azura Emperor sword, allowing it to better display the power of the half of the Azura Emperor sword. Ling Yue said. Her delicate little face was also filled with seriousness. Xiao Wuji's strength was already monstrous. Now that he had turned into a blood Azura, he was undoubtedly even more terrifying. In the entire desolate universe, there were probably not many people who were a match for Xiao Wuji. Moreover, the power of the blood Azura could better activate the half of the Azura Emperor sword, making his strength even stronger. Kill, kill, kill. Seeing that he had not killed Lu Ming and Ling Yue, Xiao Wuji's killing intent became even stronger. He kept roaring and slashed out with the half of the Azura Emperor sword. The dense sword light slashed towards Lu Ming and Ling Yue. Lu Ming and Ling Yue also activated their killing weapons to fight against the other party. The peak of the mountain trembled violently. However, this mountain was extraordinary. The intense battle between the three of them did not cause the slightest bit of damage to the mountain. The two weapons floated there quietly, emitting a treasure light. They were not affected at all. In the blink of an eye, the three of them had exchanged dozens of blows. The battle became more and more intense. The three of them activated their killing weapons to the extreme. In the end, the three killing weapons changed. First, Xiao Wuji's half of the Azura Emperor sword roared, and turned into an Azura King with 99 heads and 999 arms. It charged through the air. The Elf King Bao in Ling Yue's hand also turned into an Elf King in a dazzling light, and went forward. At the same time, the Zephyr Pearl in Lu Ming's hand also turned into a figure. It was the figure of the owner of the Zephyr Pearl that Lu Ming had seen before. It had an impression of the Azura King, and was fighting with each other. When the three killing weapons were activated to the extreme, they revealed their figures and fought with each other. Without external help, let's see how you die. Xiao Wuji let out a long roar. His long hair flew in the wind and blood radiance filled the air. A blood sword condensed in his hand. In a flash he appeared in front of Lu Ming and slashed at Lu Ming. Chapter 3883. Xiao Wuji slashed at Lu Ming with his sword. Even though he only had the strength of the first godly emperor layer, his attack was terrifyingly powerful. His attack caused the air to explode. Sword chi whistled through the air and blood chi filled the air. A terrifying pressure pressed down on Lu Ming. Danger. Extremely dangerous. That attack was fatal to Lu Ming. Lu Ming instantly activated the battle word art. His fighting strength increased by 5 times. Every cell in his body trembled as he used all his ordinary secret skills. Of course, these secret skills were hidden. A layer of light appeared around his body. This light was made up of all sorts of defensive secret skills. A layer of light also appeared on his hands. It was made up of all sorts of offensive secret skills. At the same time, Lu Ming used the Great Godly Wind technique and the Great Shattering technique to throw out 2 punches. Boom boom. Lu Ming's fists collided with Xiao Wuji's blood sword. There was an earth-shattering explosion. A terrifying force swept out in all directions and swallowed everything. In the next instant, a figure was pushed back. That figure was Lu Ming. His fists continued to explode. A terrifying sword chi broke through his secret skills and tried to tear his body apart. In the end, Lu Ming managed to block it. However, Lu Ming was pushed back 10,000 meters. There were 2 deep cuts on his fists. His fists had almost been torn apart. What a terrifying force. Lu Ming's expression was grave, and he was secretly shocked. Xiao Wuji's strength was monstrous. He was definitely the most monstrous among all the geniuses he had met. In the previous exchange, Xiao Wuji's strength had torn apart all his defenses and almost split his fists apart. Even the taboo power had been torn apart by it. It didn't mean that his forbidden strength was weaker than Xiao Wuji's. It was just that Lu Ming's cultivation was much weaker than Xiao Wuji's. A quasi-emperor and a godly emperor were on 2 completely different levels. Furthermore, Xiao Wuji's blood Shura strength was also a terrifying force. It was normal for Xiao Wuji to be able to break through his forbidden strength. If the quality was good, it had to be sufficient. If the quantity was insufficient, it would be useless. What he didn't know was that Xiao Wuji was even more shocked and unable to accept it. How is this possible? How can a mere quasi-emperor block my attack and not die? How can a quasi-emperor block my attack? Xiao Wuji was in disbelief and could not accept it. Ever since he had evolved into Blood Shura, he had believed that there were only a handful of people of the same level in the desolate universe who could fight him. Even among the top 10 tribes. Not to mention those whose cultivation levels were lower. Xiao Wuji's cultivation. Wuji's Shuraji. There was such a huge difference between their cultivation bases, but Lin Fan was still able to block his attack. Although he had the upper hand, he still couldn't accept it. This was a huge blow to his belief of being invincible. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. Kid, go to hell. Go to hell. Xiao Wuji roared crazily. His blood Shura strength was unleashed to the extreme. With a swoosh, he turned into a blood-red sword light and slashed at Lu Ming again. This time, it was even stronger than before. But at this moment, Ling Yue had already made her move. She used all her strength and shot an arrow. The arrow pierced through the air. It was terrifying as it flew towards Xiao Wuji's face. Ling Yue was also a monstrous genius. After breaking through to the godly emperor realm, her strength was also very shocking. She was enough to pose a fatal threat to Xiao Wuji. Therefore, he could only stop and wave his sword to block Ling Yue's attack. With a clang, Ling Yue's arrow was sent flying by him. With this block, Lu Ming had recovered. The wound on his fist had already recovered. At the same time, through his continuous efforts, he had finally triggered the battle character incantation to increase his combat strength by 6 times. After triggering 6 times of combat strength, Lu Ming's strength was at its peak. Boom, boom, boom. Lu Ming continued to throw punches. The void was destroyed. A terrifying fist energy was sent towards Xiao Wuji. I am the Blood Shura. I am invincible among those of the same level. Die brat. Xiao Wuji roared and slashed with his sword. The sharp sword light easily sliced apart Lu Ming's fist energy. Even though Lu Ming had triggered the battle character incantation to increase his combat strength by 6 times, he was still no match for Xiao Wuji. Xiao Wuji was truly terrifying. Among those of the same level, he was already standing at the peak of the primitive universe. Even among the top 10 races, there were not many who could match up to Xiao Wuji. Such an existence was truly terrifying. It was too difficult for Lu Ming to cross realms to fight. The difference between a quasi-emperor and a godly emperor was too great. Under the circumstances where one's cultivation was so far behind, it was normal for one to lose. Fortunately, with Ling Yue's help, Ling Yue continued to draw her bow and shoot arrows at Xiao Wuji. However, Ling Yue was also no match for Xiao Wuji. Ling Yue and Xiao Wuji were of the same level. In the past, Ling Yue was slightly behind her opponent. After her opponent turned into a Blood Shura, she was even weaker. Xiao Wuji continued to attack, breaking apart Lu Ming and Ling Yue's attacks. He kept getting closer to Lu Ming. Brat, no one can save you today. Die. Xiao Wuji roared. His killing intent was at its peak. He wanted to kill Lu Ming. It was because of jealousy. Lu Ming was able to fight against him at the quasi-emperor level. He was too monstrous. If Lu Ming broke through to the godly emperor level, he would definitely be stronger than him. He would not allow such an existence to appear. He wanted to kill him in the cradle. Lu Ming's existence was a huge blow to his invincible belief. You want to kill me? I'm going to disappoint you. I was just testing the strength of your Blood Shura. I'm not going to play with you anymore, said Lu Ming indifferently. Then, Qiao continued to wriggle on his wrist, and turned into an armor. Lu Ming also had Qiao apart from the Zephyr Pearl. Qiao had already broken through to the 3rd godly emperor layer. After turning into a silver spear, it was terrifyingly strong. Even if Xiao Wuji was incredible, Qiao could still defeat him. A silver spear appeared in Lu Ming's hand. Whoosh! The spear shook violently and collided with Xiao Wuji's blood-red sword. There was an explosion. Xiao Wuji's blood-red sword was shaking violently. Great godly wind technique, great destruction technique. Lu Ming threw a punch with his left hand. 2 deadly attacks turned into a hurricane and swept towards Xiao Wuji. Xiao Wuji's body shook violently. The Blood Shura protecting his body shook violently. Lu Ming's strength penetrated into his body. Xiao Wuji was pushed back and his face turned pale. Lu Ming didn't give him any time to breathe. His silver spear stabbed again. At the same time, his left hand also attacked. Ling Yue also seized the opportunity and shot an arrow with all her strength. Chapter 38-84. Lu Ming and Ling Yue joined forces to launch their strongest attack. Afterward, it was mainly due to the cooperation of Qiao that Xiao Wuji finally could not withstand it. He snorted and retreated while coughing blood. However, he was strong enough. Qiu was at the 3rd Godly Emperor layer, and could kill ordinary cultivators at the 5th Godly Emperor layer. Besides, Lu Ming and Ling Yue were only injured. However, this was only one move. If they continued fighting, he would die. Xiao Wuji understood this. Ah, damn it, damn it. Xiao Wuji roared madly in his heart. His gaze swept across the 2 divine weapons. In a flash, he pounced towards the 2 divine weapons. He wasn't a match for Lu Ming and Ling Yue. He knew that it was impossible to kill Lu Ming and Ling Yue. Therefore, he wanted to get the 2 weapons. However, Lu Ming and Ling Yue would not let him have his way. Another wave of attacks was directed at Xiao Wuji, blocking his way forward. Pooh! This time, Xiao Wuji's body was pierced by a silver spear. He flew a few thousand meters away and coughed up blood. Damn it! Damn it! Xiao Wuji roared. His eyes were filled with unwillingness and killing intent. In the end, he gritted his teeth and turned around to leave. He rushed out of the mountain and into the undying fighting souls. In the midst of the fighting souls, Lu Ming and the rest could not attack him. This was because their attacks would be blocked by the undying fighting souls. Lu Ming and Ling Yue thought it was a pity that they couldn't kill Xiao Wuji. In the sky, the 3 killing machines were still engaged in an intense battle. However, their attention was immediately attracted by the 2 weapons. 2 weapons, 1 for each of us. How about it? Ling Yue looked at Lu Ming. Her eyes were somewhat perturbed. Now Lu Ming had Qiu's help. He was stronger than her. Would Lu Ming give her one of the weapons? It was very likely that it was one of the 18 weapons of the Heavenly Court. It was extremely precious. All right, 1 for each of you. Lu Ming smiled. Ling Yue's eyes revealed a look of pleasant surprise. The way she looked at Lu Ming changed again. To be honest, along the way, Lu Ming had given her too many surprises. She had never expected her fiancé to be so outstanding that it was ridiculous. He was more outstanding than any of the prodigies she had ever seen. Was this the trash that her father or her clansmen spoke of? Not good enough for her? This was ridiculous. Given Lu Ming's talent, there was no woman in the world that he was not worthy of. Ling Yue suddenly felt a little fortunate in her heart. She was glad that she had come to find Lu Ming this time, and discovered the shocking side of Lu Ming. She's going to get married anyway. Instead of marrying that playboy from the angel race, why not marry him? Hee. Thoughts flashed through Ling Yue's mind. Lu Ming did not know that Ling Yue had so many thoughts in that instant. After replying, he pounced towards one of the divine armaments. It was the snow-white staff. In the blink of an eye, Lu Ming appeared beside the snow-white staff without any hindrance. Lu Ming grabbed the end of the snow-white staff, wanting to put it away. However, the snow-white staff did not move at all. Why can't I put it away? Take it! Lu Ming shouted, but he still couldn't put it away. Moreover, the long staff began to tremble violently, as if it had an unyielding will. It didn't want to submit to Lu Ming, and it didn't want to be taken away. How can a divine armament of this level be so easy to put away? You need to suppress him, condense him, and obtain his approval. Then use your taboo power. The bone demon sent a sound transmission to Lu Ming. Lu Ming nodded. In the next moment, a boundless taboo power surged towards the long staff. When the taboo power was released, the vibration of the long staff suddenly weakened. It's effective. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. It's normal that it's effective. It's abnormal that it's ineffective. This is taboo power, the top power in the universe. If you don't approve of it, what else can you approve of? The bone demon said. Lu Ming focused his attention and continued to inject the taboo power, wanting to completely subdue the long staff. On the other side, Ling Yue seemed to be in big trouble. She held one end of the saber, but the saber was constantly trembling. Buzz. In the end, the saber shook violently, and a terrifying saber intent was emitted. Ling Yue's body shook violently, and she was directly sent flying. Her face turned pale, and she spat out a mouthful of blood. She couldn't subdue this saber. Ha ha ha, Ling Yue, you want to take this saber? Dream on, this saber is mine. At this moment, Xiao Wuji rushed out again, and rushed towards the saber. He saw that Lu Ming couldn't make a move now, so he wanted to take the opportunity to take the saber into his bag. Xiao Wuji grabbed the hilt of the saber, but the saber was also shaking violently. You still want to resist under my blood Shura power? Suppress. Xiao Wuji shouted, and his body shone brightly. The dazzling blood-red light completely enveloped the saber. The vibrations of the saber suddenly lessened. From this, it could be seen that the power of the blood Shura was also very shocking. Humph, you want to take the divine weapon? Have you asked me? Ling Yue said unhappily, and continued to shoot at Xiao Wuji. Xiao Wuji was using all his strength to suppress the saber, and couldn't spare any energy to resist. He was instantly hit by an arrow, and spat out a large mouthful of blood. Ling Yue continued to draw her bow, continuously shooting arrows at Xiao Wuji. You're courting death. Xiao Wuji shouted angrily, and retracted the power of suppressing the saber. He turned it into a blood sword, and slashed out continuously, knocking away Ling Yue's arrows. However, the moment he retracted his power, and lost the suppression of the blood Shura power, the saber began to shake violently again. Damn it, damn it. Xiao Wuji was furious, and could only continue to suppress the saber. However, as he continued to suppress the saber, Ling Yue attacked him again, making him extremely angry and anxious. If this continued, if Lu Ming subdued the staff before him and freed up his hands to deal with him, then he could forget about getting the saber. I'm going to kill you, Xiao Wuji roared, and his killing intent soared. He simply abandoned the saber and rushed towards Ling Yue, wanting to kill her. However, Ling Yue directly escaped into the undying fighting soul. Xiao Wuji's evil guts rose, and he rushed towards Lu Ming, wanting to kill Lu Ming while Lu Ming was suppressing the staff. You're courting death. Qiu, go and finish him. Lu Ming waved his hand, and Qiu flew out, turning into a silver spear and attacking Xiao Wuji. Xiao Wuji was no match for Qiu. After a few moves, he was swept away by Qiu, and he coughed out large mouthfuls of blood. Xiao Wuji was about to go crazy, being chased by Qiu. However, at this moment, Lu Ming suddenly felt a terrifying sense of danger enveloping him, causing all the hair on his body to stand on end. Whoosh! Behind Lu Ming, a bright sword light pierced towards Lu Ming. Chapter 3885. Behind Lu Ming. A dazzling sword radiance shot towards Lu Ming. Sharp, fast and terrifying. Such a sudden and terrifying sword radiance. If it was an ordinary person, he would not be able to block it, as he would not be able to do so in time. However, Lu Ming was not an ordinary person. He had a forbidden body. Every cell in his body contained powerful energy, and he could attack from every part of his body. Boom! Lu Ming's back and the back of his head suddenly shone brightly. The forbidden body was activated and many defensive and offensive secret skills were unleashed. Just as Lu Ming was prepared, the sword radiance slashed onto Lu Ming's body, and there was a loud explosion. Lu Ming felt that the secret skills that he had unleashed were being broken apart by the sword radiance. In the end, a terrifying force slashed onto Lu Ming's body, and left a deep wound on his back. Piercing pain spread throughout his body. Not far away, Qiu was shocked. He did not care about killing Xiao Wuji. He turned into a spear radiance and quickly flew towards Lu Ming. At this moment, Lu Ming finally saw who had sneaked an attack on him from behind. Looking at the figure, Lu Ming's eyes were filled with surprise. Di Jiani. The person who had attacked him was actually Di Jiani. Di Jiani was in a white robe, and he was walking towards Sumo. Those undying fighting souls did not attack him, as he also had a vitality stone fragment in his hand. There was another person beside Di Jiani. It was a lady who was extremely beautiful. Lu Ming also knew this lady. Dark Night Rose. Lu Ming was really shocked. He was very surprised. Firstly, he was surprised as to why Di Jiani and Dark Night Rose were walking together. Furthermore, why would Di Jiani and Dark Night Rose appear here? It seemed that the two of them had vitality stone fragments. Otherwise, they would not have been able to climb up the mountain. Di Jiani's gaze was like a sword, and a powerful sword essence locked onto Lu Ming, as if he would attack at any moment. Besides, his chi was terrifying. He had broken through to the first godly emperor layer. Come to think of it, during this period of time, Di Jiani had also obtained many miraculous encounters. Otherwise, his cultivation would not have increased so quickly. With a whoosh, Qiu flew back to Lu Ming's side and transformed into an armor that enveloped Lu Ming. Lu Ming felt slightly more at ease. You're finally here. Seeing Dark Knight Rose and Di Jiani, Xiao Wuji seemed to be very happy. He also secretly heaved a sigh of relief. This made Lu Ming frown. Could it be that Xiao Wuji knew Dark Knight Rose and Di Jiani? If we don't come, I'm afraid you won't be able to get anything. You were very confident when you swore Dandan in front of me. Dark Knight Rose said, her voice full of charm. Xiao Wuji's face flushed red, revealing a tinge of awkwardness. He then swept his cold gaze toward Lu Ming and said, "This time I miscalculated. I didn't expect this lad to be so difficult to deal with. He is indeed difficult to deal with. I did not expect there to be such a genius in the universe." Dark Knight Rose also looked at Lu Ming, her eyes flashing with an inexplicable radiance. She and Di Jiani naturally did not know Lu Ming. Lu Ming was now in a forbidden land. His life source had already changed. They completely treated Lu Ming as a stranger. "You go and collect that warblade. Leave these two to us," Dark Knight Rose said to Xiao Wuji. Her tone had a faint commanding tone. What was surprising was that although Dark Knight Rose's tone had a tinge of command, with Xiao Wuji's arrogance, he was not angry or scolded. Instead, he looked as if it was a matter of course. Xiao Wuji nodded and charged towards the warblade. Don't even think about it. Ling Yue would not let her opponent succeed so easily. She drew her bow and shot a few more arrows toward Xiao Wuji. However, this time, Xiao Wuji did not care. It was as if he did not see the arrows and directly ignored them. "Little girl, don't be too hot-tempered." Dark Knight Rose smiled. She stretched out a jade-like hand and pressed it in the air. Immediately, a strange ripple spread out, and then black flowers appeared in the air. This was a rose flower, and the moment the rose flower appeared, it easily blocked the arrow shot by Ling Yue. "Leave him to me." At this moment Di Jiani spoke. His voice was indifferent, as if he was an emotionless divine sword. His gaze was always on Lu Ming. He did not know why, but although he did not know Lu Ming, when he saw Lu Ming, there was an inexplicable hostility in his heart. It was as if Lu Ming was his mortal enemy, and he had to get rid of Lu Ming. Otherwise, in the future, he would be killed by Lu Ming. This was an inexplicable thought. It came out of nowhere, and there was no reason for it. However, this thought made Di Jiani very unhappy. He was restless and could not wait to get rid of Lu Ming. "Make your move." Dark Knight Rose nodded. Clang. The sound of a sword chime could be heard. A dazzling sword light burst out from Di Jiani's hand and pierced towards Lu Ming. There was no doubt that Di Jiani had become even scarier after not seeing him for a period of time. He was much scarier than when he had fought with Lu Ming. Lu Ming could feel it the moment Di Jiani made his move. Di Jiani's sword aura was exceptionally sharp and unparalleled. In a battle of the same level, it was actually not weaker than Xiao Wuji, who had turned into blood azura. This was extremely shocking. "Qiu." Lu Ming waved his hand and Qiu flew out. Now, he was suppressing the long rod divine weapon with all his strength, and could not spare any energy to fight against Di Jiani. He could only let Qiu make his move. Qiu flew out and turned into a silver spear. It pierced out and destroyed Di Jiani's sword light. Then the spear light did not stop and continued to stab towards Di Jiani. Di Jiani's expression changed. He quickly retreated and turned into a sword light. He kept changing his position in the air. In an instant he had changed at least a few hundred positions. Only then did he avoid the attack of the silver spear light. "Do you think you can stop me with just a metallic life form?" Di Jiani's eyes were cold. A long sword flew out from between his eyebrows. This was an ancient sword. It looked very old and worn out. The surface of the sword was dented and full of holes. However, a terrifying sword essence was emitted from the ancient sword. This was a terrifying weapon of mass destruction. Swoosh! A beam of sword gleam burst forth from the ancient sword, and slashed the silver spear that Qiu had transformed into. The silver spear that Qiu had transformed into vibrated violently, and was sent flying back to Lu Ming's side. "Painful, painful!" Qiu cried out. A hole appeared on its body, and it could not be healed in a short period of time. Lu Ming's expression was grave. Jinny had taken out such a killing weapon that was not weaker than the Elven King Bao and Gale Pearl. Bam! Jinny took a step forward and continued to walk towards Lu Ming. Gale Pearl, come back! Lu Ming roared and activated the Great God Wind skill. In the sky, the human figure that was formed by the Gale Pearl gave off a dazzling radiance. Then, it turned back into the Gale Pearl and flew back to Lu Ming's hand. Chapter 3886. Lu Ming recalled the Gale Pearl, and the confrontation in the sky was broken. Half of the Shura Emperor sword turned back into half a sword and flew back into Xiao Wuji's body. The Elven King Bao also returned to Ling Yue's side. Ling Yue's figure flashed and came to Lu Ming's side. Lu Ming activated the power of the Gale Pearl, and a gale swept towards Jinny. As for Ling Yue, she activated the Elf King's bow that was stained with blood and shot a terrifying arrow towards the Dark Knight Rose. You want to deal with me with a broken weapon? Dark Knight Rose had a faint smile on her face. She pinched the air with her fingers and a petal appeared on her fingertips. It was a pitch-black petal. The petal emitted a terrifying fluctuation and flew out, turning into a dazzling divine light. It collided with Ling Yue's arrow and successfully blocked Ling Yue's attack. At the same time, Jinny took a step in the air. Sword Chi soared into the sky and a terrifying sword light slashed towards Lu Ming. It fought against the strong gale and rumbled continuously. However, Lu Ming controlled the Gale Pearl with all his strength, so he had no choice but to let go of the suppression of the long staff weapon. The long staff weapon shook violently, as if it wanted to shake Lu Ming away. Lu Ming barely managed to stabilize himself. You want to split your attention to fight against me and still want to suppress the divine weapon? What a joke! The Emperor's sword snorted coldly, and the sword gleams surged once again. Dazzling sword gleams came one after another, slashing toward Lu Ming with overwhelming momentum. Jinny's strength was extremely terrifying. Coupled with this ancient sword, its power was even more terrifying. It was as if Xiao Wuji was controlling half of the Shura Emperor sword. Lu Ming could only fight with all his strength. On the other side, Dark Knight Rose was even more terrifying. With just a petal, she was able to suppress Ling Yue. This surprised Lu Ming. What's going on with this Dark Knight Rose? How did she become so terrifying? Lu Ming was bewildered. Dark Knight Rose was just the daughter of an ordinary demon king in the Chu Tian star zone of the Taishu dynasty. She was nothing in the primitive universe. However, Lu Ming had a deep impression of Dark Knight Rose. When they met for the first time, he felt that Dark Knight Rose was very dangerous and gave him a sense of crisis. But this time, Dark Knight Rose was even more unfathomable. Not only was her power terrifying, but even demons like Jinny and Xiao Wuji had to listen to her orders. This made Anya Rose even more mysterious. As they fought, Ling Yue was completely suppressed. She could only barely resist, and the situation was somewhat dangerous. Whoosh! Suddenly, the Dark Knight Rose raised her hand, and a sharp divine light shot toward Lu Ming. It broke through the wind and headed straight for Lu Ming. Lu Ming hurriedly brandished the silver spear that Qiu had transformed into to block the attack. Don't be stubborn. The two of you, hand over the Life Spirit Vitality Stone fragments. Then, swear on your life source that if you work for me in the future, I can spare your lives. Dark Knight Rose said. She actually wanted to subdue Lu Ming and Ling Yue for her use. However, how could Lu Ming agree? Do you really think that you can take us down? If you push us too far, we'll just die together. This Gale Pearl of mine contains a terrifying gale. Once it explodes, it can destroy a galaxy. Once I self-destruct, we'll all die. Lu Ming said coldly. Forbidden power surged into the Gale Pearl, causing it to flicker as if it was really going to explode. In fact, Lu Ming was just scaring them. He really did not have the ability to detonate the Gale Pearl. However, Dark Knight Rose and Jinny did not know this. They were really scared. They could not help but stop their actions and prepare to defend themselves. Dark Knight Rose stared at the Gale Pearl in Lu Ming's hand. Her eyes filled with bewilderment. I don't believe that you will detonate your Gale Pearl. Dark Knight Rose said. Is that so? Lu Ming's eyes flashed with viciousness. Forbidden power was injected, causing the light on the Gale Pearl to flicker even more. Dark Knight Rose and Jinny were shocked. They subconsciously took a few steps back, distancing themselves from Lu Ming. For a moment, the two sides were in a standoff. "What's your name?" Dark Knight Rose suddenly asked with a smile. She looked extremely charming. Lu Ming's eyes flickered a few times. He did not know the purpose of the other party's question, but he did not care. He answered truthfully, "Mu Yun." "So you're Mu Yun? I know you, the fiancé of the elf princess Ling Yue. It seems that you two are really together. You're really a match made in heaven." Dark Knight Rose continued to smile. "What do you want to say? Just say it," Lu Ming said. He didn't think that the other party's purpose was to flatter him. "I'll tell you the truth. I've created a force called the Huiying Alliance. It means to gather all the heroes in the world. Now many heroes have joined the Huiying Alliance. They are all the top geniuses in the universe. Our goal is to create a powerful force that can rival the Heavenly Palace in the future. Our name will shake the universe and will be immortal, benefiting billions of people. The talents of the two of you are completely in line with the standards of the Huiying Alliance. How about joining us and working together?" Dark Knight Rose said. Hearing this, Lu Ming and Ling Yue were shocked. The other party had actually created a force called the Huiying Alliance. They wanted to gather all the heroes in the world and become a force comparable to the Heavenly Palace. What great courage and ambition! If someone else had said this, Lu Ming would have laughed in disdain. But now, Lu Ming could not laugh. Needless to say, Di Jiani and Xiao Wuji were both from the Huiying Alliance. Not to mention the others, just the Dark Knight Rose, Di Jiani, and Xiao Wuji were all the top geniuses in the universe. Each of them was terrifyingly powerful and talented. If the Huiying Alliance had more of such geniuses, it would be very shocking. When they grew up in the future, they would definitely be very terrifying. It might be too exaggerated to say that it was comparable to the Heavenly Palace, but it would definitely be able to create a very terrifying force. As for benefiting billions of people, Lu Ming sneered. The other party was just saying it for his own selfish reasons. However, Lu Ming could not figure out how the Dark Knight Rose was so powerful that she could gather so many geniuses. Seeing that Lu Ming and Ling Yue were silent, the Dark Knight Rose thought that the two of them were moved and said, "How is it? In the Huiying Alliance, there are many top geniuses. This way, everyone can supervise each other and spar with each other. Their improvement is also the fastest. When everyone grows up, it won't be difficult to create another life spirit heavenly court. Especially Brother Mu Yin. With your talent, if you join the Huiying Alliance, I can give you the position of Deputy Alliance Leader. How about it?" The Dark Knight Rose continued to increase the chips. Chapter 3887. Dark Knight Rose promised the position of Vice Leader, and continued to increase the stakes, trying to attract Lu Ming to join. But Lu Ming was not interested at all. "I'm sorry, but I'm not interested. Also, I think that the Heavenly Palace will not allow a force like the Huiying Alliance to develop." Lu Ming smiled faintly. The Heavenly Palace ruled the primitive universe. How could they let a force that could challenge them appear? If they found out, they would definitely extinguish it. Even without the Heavenly Palace, Lu Ming would not join. If he wanted to build a force, why not do it himself? Why did he have to rely on others? This was not Lu Ming's style. Mu Yun's meaning is my meaning. I'm not interested either. Ling Yue also rejected. Hearing Lu Ming and Ling Yue's rejection, Dark Knight Rose's gaze turned cold. "You refuse a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. Do you really think that you can scare me with a bead? I don't believe that you will really detonate it. Moreover, whether you can detonate it is still a question." Dark Knight Rose said coldly. Her eyes flashed with wisdom as if she could see through everything. Lu Ming's heart trembled. This Dark Knight Rose was really difficult to deal with. Her wisdom was not to be underestimated. She did not seem like a young person at all. Instead, she seemed like an old monster that had lived for countless years. Indeed, Lu Ming could not detonate the Gale bead. And even if he could, Lu Ming would not detonate it and really die together with the other party. "Collect." At this moment, Xiao Wuji shouted loudly. The bloody light on his body surged. The war blade in his hand buzzed and vibrated non-stop. Then the vibration quickly weakened. Finally, It turned into a ray of light and was absorbed into Xiao Wuji's body. While Lu Ming was confronting Dark Knight Rose and the others, Xiao Wuji used the power of the Blood Shura to suppress the War Blade. He finally succeeded in subduing it. Ha ha! After subduing the battle saber, Xiao Wuji let out a long laugh. He was very carefree. Then he swept his gaze toward Lu Ming with a ferocious expression. He took a step forward and appeared beside Dark Knight Rose and the rest. He formed a horn-like formation and surrounded Lu Ming and Ling Yue. What's the point of talking so much nonsense with them? They're so stubborn that it's useless to recruit them into the Huiying alliance. Xiao Wuji said savagely, his killing intent becoming even colder. I've already given you a chance, but you don't know how to cherish it. Then I can only send you on your way. Dark Knight Rose said coldly. The black petal reappeared in her hand. Whoosh. The black petal turned into a jet of black divine light and shot towards Lu Ming. At the same time, Di Jiani activated the ancient sword and charged towards Lu Ming. Xiao Wuji controlled the remaining half of the Azura Emperor sword. The three of them unleashed their killing weapons at the same time, unleashing a terrifying attack. Lu Ming and Ling Yue didn't dare to be careless and retaliated with all their might. Ling Yue activated the Elven Royal Bow and shot an arrow. The arrow collided with the petals of the Dark Knight Rose, erupting with an earth-shattering boom. However, the outcome was that the arrow shot by Ling Yue was defeated, while the petals only weakened a little and continued to fly toward Lu Ming. At the same time, two terrifying sword lights flew towards Lu Ming. Lu Ming activated the energy within the Gale Pearl with all his might. A terrifying storm formed a wall of wind to block their attacks. Boom, 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 boom. As the petals of Dark Knight Rose were weakened, they weren't powerful enough and were blocked by the Gale Wall. However, the sword gleams of Emperor Jiani and Xiao Wuji were unusually terrifying. They bombarded the wall of Gale and constantly tore it apart. In the end, they completely broke through the gale and continued to slash toward Lu Ming with the remaining power. Block! Lu Ming shouted. He held the silver spear that Qiu Qiu had transformed into and stabbed out with all his might. Whoosh! Whoosh! Two silver spear lights and two sword lights fiercely collided with each other. A dazzling light appeared and energy overflowed. Lu Ming felt two incomparably sharp sword intents breaking through the silver spear lights and surging towards his body. Di Jiani and Xiao Wuji had used their trump cards. They were too strong and their strength had far surpassed Qiu Qiu's. Lu Ming retreated, but there were still a few sword wounds on his body that went straight to his bones. Moreover, these sword chi were filled with destructive power. They crazily exploded in Lu Ming's body, wanting to tear apart Lu Ming's body. However, every cell in Lu Ming's body contained powerful energy. Suppress! Lu Ming shouted in his heart. His cells trembled and waves of taboo energy exploded, finally suppressing the sword chi. Muyin, how are you? Ling Yue asked with concern. Fortunately, I'm fine. Lu Ming took a deep breath and said. What should we do next? Ling Yue asked again. At that moment, Ling Yue had lost her mind and was a little panicked, because the three young men in front of her were too terrifying. It seemed like the three of them were at the first godly emperor layer, the same level as her. However, each of them was stronger than her. Besides, each of them had a trump card. If the three of them joined forces, she and Lu Ming wouldn't be able to defeat them. If this continued, they would be in danger. Mu Yun, with your talent, it's a pity to get rid of you. However, you're stubborn, just like a guy I met before. I can only get rid of you. Die! Shouted the Dark Knight Rose. She was surrounded by a strange black light. The flower in her hand was releasing a terrifying chi. A dazzling light moved towards Lu Ming. At the same time, Di Jiani and Xiao Wuji also attacked. They were both filled with murderous chi. Their sword lights were terrifying to the extreme. Ling Yue used all her strength to pull the royal elf bow, but it was still broken by the Dark Knight Rose's attack. A few attacks instantly approached Lu Ming, but this time Lu Ming didn't activate the power of the Zephyr Pearl. He just stood there motionlessly. Mu Yun, quickly fight back. Quickly fight back! Shouted Ling Yue. However, Lu Ming still didn't activate the power of the Zephyr Pearl. Die! Shouted Xiao Wuji. His eyes were filled with murderous chi. Jianyi didn't say anything, but the light in his eyes was incomparably resplendent, like two divine swords. Their attacks were about to reach Lu Ming's body. At that moment, Lu Ming moved. He didn't activate the Zephyr Pearl. Instead, he suddenly waved the staff in his left hand. His left hand had always been holding the staff. At that moment, he suddenly waved it, and the air exploded. A violent qi whistled through the air, bringing with it a terrifying coldness. It swept in all directions. Dang! 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 There were a few consecutive sounds of metal clashing. The divine weapon staff accurately struck a few of the sword lights. Wang! The staff let out a buzzing sound like a big bell. A few sword lights were also defeated, turning into energy and disappearing. The attacks from the Dark Knight Rose, Jianyi, and Xiao Wuji were all blocked. Chapter 3888. Lu Ming waved the long staff weapon and blocked the attacks of Jianyi and the rest. Moreover, there was a terrifying chill that spread out from the long staff weapon and surged towards Jianyi and the rest. The ancient sword in Jianyi's hand, and the half of the Azura Emperor sword in Xiao Wuji's hand were covered by a layer of frost, and revealed a bone-piercing chill. Even the petals of Dark Knight Rose that were dancing in the air were covered by a layer of frost. The few of them retreated and continuously activated their divine power to repel the frost on the weapons. How is this possible? How are you able to use this divine weapon now? Xiao Wuji shouted in disbelief. They could already determine that these two weapons were two of the 18 Palace Garrison divine weapons under the Life Spirit Heavenly Court. Such a divine weapon was not to be underestimated. It would be difficult to subdue it. He had used all his strength and the power of Blood Azura to barely subdue it. However, he could not use it at all, and could only keep it reluctantly. If he wanted to use it, he would need to spend a large amount of time to refine it. However, when Lu Ming was attacked by them, not only did he successfully subdue the long staff weapon, but he was also able to use it on the spot and display some of its power. How was this possible? No wonder Xiao Wuji shouted in disbelief. Dark Knight Rose and Jianyi's pupils constricted, and they were shocked. If you can't do it, it doesn't mean that others can't do it. It only means that you can't do it. Lu Ming said indifferently as he held the snow-white long staff weapon in his hand, and gave off an invincible aura. What did you say? I can't do it? I don't believe that you can use it. I don't believe that you can. Kill. Xiao Wuji shouted as if he had gone mad and charged towards Lu Ming again. Today, Lu Ming had given him too many blows. He was so jealous of Lu Ming that he was about to go crazy. His killing intent towards Lu Ming was also extremely strong, and he was about to lose his mind. When Xiao Wuji moved, Dark Knight Rose and Jianyi also moved. They also charged towards Lu Ming and unleashed terrifying attacks. At the side, Ling Yue drew her bow and arrow, wanting to attack, but Lu Ming stopped her. You don't have to do anything. Leave the rest to me. Lu Ming smiled faintly. With a shake of his arm, the staff shot through the air and rapidly grew in size until it was like a mountain, sweeping through the world. Boom. Heaven and earth boiled as the violent force crushed toward Anya Rose and the other two. At the same time, there was an incomparably terrifying chill in the energy. Everywhere it passed, it was as if everything was about to be frozen. Dark Knight Rose and the other two's attacks collided with the long staff, creating a terrifying explosion. Following which, the divine light and the two sword radiances collapsed at the same time. The violent energy caused Dark Knight Rose and the other two to retreat once again. This time, the trio's faces turned incredibly unpleasant. Even a fool could see that Lu Ming could indeed control the long staff. Damn it, how could this be? Xiao Wuji continued to roar. The truth was right in front of his eyes. He had no choice but to believe it. Boom. Lu Ming held the long staff and looked like an invincible battle god. He took a step forward and his chi soared to the sky. Dark Knight Rose and the other two couldn't help but take a step back. They were intimidated by Lu Ming's chi. It seems like the three of you won't be able to kill me today. Lu Ming smiled faintly, but he looked invincible. Even if you can control the long staff, how many attacks can you make? Can you withstand it with your strength? Dark Knight Rose asked tentatively. Then you can try. Lu Ming smiled and continued. Furthermore, given your cultivation level, How many moves can you unleash when you activate such a powerful killing weapon? At that time, we won't know who will kill who. Indeed, Dark Knight Rose and the other two were only at the first godly emperor layer. It was very difficult for them to control such a weapon. For example, Ling Yue was already sweating profusely. Her chi was unstable, and she was a little weak. When she was at the quasi-emperor layer, she could only shoot one arrow with her bloody elven royal bow. Even if she broke through to the first godly emperor layer and her strength increased, she couldn't use it indefinitely. After breaking through to the first godly emperor layer, the power of the arrows increased greatly. At the same time, the consumption of energy also increased greatly. She couldn't use many attacks. Dark Knight Rose, Di Jiani and Xiao Wuji were the same. They couldn't use many attacks. Between them and Lu Ming, who would be the first to give up? Who knew? If they couldn't hold on, it would be troublesome because Lu Ming had a very strong metallic creature. Dark Knight Rose and the others' eyes were twinkling. They already wanted to retreat. Mu Yun, I admit that you're really strong. How about this? Let's cooperate. You're qualified to cooperate with us. Let's explore the Life Spirit Heavenly Court together and find the treasures there. What do you think? Dark Knight Rose said. Before, she wanted Lu Ming to join her and join the Huiying Alliance. But now, she wanted to cooperate with Lu Ming. Unknowingly, she had already retreated and placed Lu Ming on the same level. Lu Ming smiled faintly. This was within his expectations, because he and Ling Yue both had Life Spirit Origin stone fragments in their hands. If Dark Knight Rose and the others wanted to continue exploring the Life Spirit Heavenly Court, they had to have Life Spirit Origin stone fragments. The more the better. Otherwise, they would snatch them from their hands. This was their initial plan. But now they had no choice but to change their plans. Cooperating with Lu Ming and the others was the best choice. We can cooperate, but we have to act separately. If you have any news, you can inform us at any time, and then we can investigate together. Lu Ming said with a harmless smile on his face. However, Dark Knight Rose and the others gritted their teeth in anger. Damn it! What did Lu Ming mean? He wanted them to work hard and find clues about the Life Spirit Heavenly Court. For example, clues about the other Life Spirit Palace. After they found them, they would inform him. Lu Ming wanted to obtain benefits without expending any effort. How could they not be angry? Mu Yun, aren't you going overboard? Are you treating us as free labor? Dark Knight Rose said. Then we don't have to cooperate. Anyway, I'm already satisfied with this divine weapon. I don't have much ambition. Please go ahead. Lu Ming said indifferently. You, Dark Knight Rose and Xiao Wuji were so angry that their faces turned black. Di Jiani's eyes shone brightly as if he was about to attack at any time. However, no matter how angry they were, there was nothing they could do. They couldn't kill Lu Ming. What could they do? Good, very good. Leave your contact details. We can contact each other at any time. Dark Knight Rose's gaze turned and revealed a smile. This made Lu Ming think that this woman was terrifying. Lu Ming immediately left the contact details of the illusory sacred jade. I hope we can cooperate happily in the future. In the end, Dark Knight Rose smiled and left with Di Jiani and Xiao Wuji. Chapter 3889. Dark Knight Rose and the other two left. Before leaving, Di Jiani took a deep look at Lu Ming, and a trace of doubt flashed in his eyes. He had always felt that Lu Ming's temperament was very similar to that of a person, a life and death enemy of his. However, the life source aura of the two were completely different. They shouldn't be the same person. With doubts, Di Jiani and the others left. Whoosh! After Dark Knight Rose, Di Jiani, and the others left, Lu Ming let out a long breath. His aura rapidly weakened. The consumption of this divine weapon is really great. Lu Ming sighed and hurriedly put away the long rod divine weapon. To be honest, he could only barely use a few moves just now. After all, he had just subdued the long rod divine weapon, and had yet to refine it. The reason why he could use it was all because of the profoundness of the taboo power. However, the consumption of such a divine weapon was too great. Even if it was a taboo body, the consumption of energy after using it a few times just now was extremely shocking. Lu Ming was almost unable to hold on. Fortunately, Dark Knight Rose and the others were scared away in the end. Muyin, are you alright? Ling Yue asked with concern. I'm fine. We can't stay here for long. Let's leave quickly. Lu Ming said. Ling Yue nodded. The two of them turned into two streaks of light and headed in the opposite direction of Dark Knight Rose and the other two. Muyin, how are you so sure that Dark Knight Rose will cooperate with us? On the way, Ling Yue asked curiously. Dark Knight Rose's ambition is very great. She wants to create a force comparable to the Heavenly Palace. It can be said that her heart is higher than the sky. However, to create such a force, the resources needed are extremely terrifying. Therefore, the resources of the Life Spirit Heavenly Court are too important to them. And in our hands, we have a few pieces of Life Spirit Origin Stone fragments. If they want to investigate the Life Spirit Heavenly Court in the future, they will need a lot of Life Spirit Origin Stone fragments. Unless they collect enough Life Spirit Origin Stone fragments, they will need our help. If they don't cooperate with us, what can they do? Lu Ming explained with a smile. Ling Yue's beautiful eyes flashed, surprised by Lu Ming's intelligence. He had actually thought of so many things in an instant. How are we going to get out? There's only one exit in Bingxian's Life Soul Palace. If Dark Knight Rose and the others are guarding the exit, we won't be able to get out. Ling Yue said. Then there's nothing we can do. We can only wait. Let's wait for a while, and then go take a look. Let's go to that snowy mountain. Having said that, Lu Ming headed towards the snowy mountain where he had been cultivating in seclusion. With Dark Knight Rose's intelligence, she would have sensed that something was wrong. It was normal for her to guard the entrance of Bingxian's Life Soul Palace. Therefore, Lu Ming did not intend to go out now. Anyway, he wanted to refine the long rod weapon and study the fighting souls in the Life Spirit Vitality Stone fragments. It was not a bad idea to cultivate here for a while. Of course, the most suitable place for Lu Ming to cultivate was naturally that snowy mountain. In the snowy mountains, the cold wind whistled, the chill was bone-chilling. Lu Ming used the strong wind to envelop himself and Ling Yue, and successfully arrived at the glacier canyon. It was relatively safer here. It was difficult for others to enter, so they could cultivate and research in peace. Ling Yue sat cross-legged at the side, and took out the Life Spirit Origin Stone fragments to study. As for Lu Ming, he also took out the Life Spirit Origin Stone fragments to study. Within the Life Spirit Origin Stone fragments, there were so many powerful undying battle souls. If he could use them, why would he be afraid of Dark Knight Rose? However, after studying it for a long time, he still didn't know how to use it. He could only ask the stone spirit of the Life Spirit Origin Stone fragments. If you want to use it, it's very simple. You need to use your spiritual sense to come into contact with the undying battle soul inside the Life Spirit Origin Stone. After you get familiar with it, you will be able to summon the undying battle soul from the Life Spirit Origin Stone fragments. The stone spirit of the Life Spirit Origin Stone fragments explained. There's no need to go through so much trouble. Lu Ming was slightly disappointed. Originally, he had thought that as long as he collected them, he would be able to release as much as he wanted. It seemed that he was overthinking things. The truth was obviously not that simple. He still needed to slowly sense it. What do you think? Of course, it's not that easy. Moreover, the strength of the undying fighting soul is related to your cultivation. The stronger your cultivation, the stronger the undying fighting soul that you can release. This is because you won't be able to sense the undying fighting soul that is much stronger than you. It won't come into contact with you. The stone spirit of the Life Spirit Origin Stone fragments said. Lu Ming was even more disappointed. He was disappointed that not only did he need to sense and come into contact with the undying battle soul, but it also had something to do with his cultivation. To put it bluntly, those who were much stronger than him did not care about him at all. In this way, the undying battle souls that he had collected were very limited. Lu Ming's dream of bringing a group of undying battle souls to the world was shattered just like that. Of course, Lu Ming was naturally reluctant to give up and not use them. Immediately, Lu Ming began to try according to the method of the stone spirit of the Life Spirit Origin Stone fragments. His spiritual awareness appeared inside the Life Spirit Origin Stone fragments, and then approached an undying battle soul. The undying battle soul's chi was around the third godly emperor layer. It was easy for the undying battle soul to come into contact with Lu Ming. It allowed Lu Ming to approach it, and there was a strange resonance between the two of them. At first, they were unfamiliar with each other, but as time passed, they gradually became familiar with each other. One day later, Lu Ming felt that it was about time. He withdrew his spiritual awareness from the life spirit origin stone fragments. And then the undying battle soul came out of the life spirit origin stone fragments and floated around Lu Ming. As soon as Lu Ming gave the order, the undying battle soul would attack him violently. Not bad. Lu Ming nodded with satisfaction. It had been so easy to obtain an undying battle soul of the third godly emperor layer. It was already very good. Such an undying battle soul wasn't afraid of death. At a critical moment, it could be very useful. Then he put the undying battle soul away, and Lu Ming's spiritual awareness appeared inside the life spirit origin stone fragments again. This time, Lu Ming sensed a terrifying undying battle soul. The chi of the undying battle soul was terrifying and unfathomable. It gave Lu Ming a lot of pressure. It was much stronger than the chi of the seventh godly emperor layer. Lu Ming guessed that the undying battle soul's cultivation level was probably higher than the godly emperor layer. It was a gigantic undying battle soul that looked like a bull. It was lying there lazily and yawning from time to time. Lu Ming was very excited. If he could summon the undying battle soul, it would be awesome. It would be like having a powerful fighter with him at all times. Lu Ming flew over and tried to make contact and communicate with the undying fighting soul. However, this huge bull-shaped undying fighting soul opened its eyes and glanced at him. Then its eyes were filled with disdain before it closed its eyes again. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.